We're here with the 2019 Toyota Avalon, and for 2019, the Avalon sees huge changes. It doesn't just change a few things, it changes everything, from the platform to the engine to the exterior styling.
Now for 2019, the Avalon's exterior styling has changed drastically, so much so that it will be impossible to confuse it for the 2018 model. Now last year's model had this weird kind of front two-part grille opening, which Toyota has combined for 2019 into what I call one giant front and air intake to rule them all. Now the front looks really polarizing. Even within our staff, there's some disagreement over whether the Avalon is good looking or going too far. But what's less arguable is that from the sides and the rear, the car definitely is improved. Toyota has stretched out the cabin so that it has a bit more of a fastback look that makes the whole thing look a bit sleeker. And in the back, there's new LED tail lights which stretch wide across the bumper and give the Avalon a good visual signature, especially at night.
One of our complaints about the old Avalon was that the interior didn't really make sense, especially here in the center stack. The screen was kind of in a weird position at an off angle, and the storage spaces were a bit weirdly sized. For example, if you had a larger smartphone, like many of them are these days, it didn't quite fit on the wireless charging pad. Luckily, Toyota has made big updates to the interior, including updates to the multimedia system and that wireless charging pad, which fit my phone, which is among the biggest smartphones, without a problem. Now, the center stack now comes down to this waterfall fashion. It has a larger screen. A 9-inch touchscreen is standard across all trim levels, and it's bright and easy to see and read. Thankfully, it's also flanked by physical controls, which makes it easier to navigate. There is one thing that's weird about the screen's position, however. It's kind of situated far from the driver. So if you are driving, you won't actually be able to reach the right side of the screen without leaning forward a few inches. And that's kind of a minor quibble. It's a trade-off that I'm willing to make to have the screen up this high, but it does mean that these buttons over here are hard to reach. Now, another strength that remains for the Avalon is its back seat. Now, Toyota calls the Avalon a premium midsize car, but don't let that fool you. This is basically a full-size car in midsize clothing. The back seat is indicative of this. It's very large and comfortable. It's got a lot of legroom and headroom. And new for 2019, the Avalon has 5 standard USB ports, 2 of which are in the back. So even if you're sitting in the back, you'll have a place to plug in and charge devices. For 2019, Toyota has updated the powertrains on the Avalon in both the gas and hybrid versions of the car. Now, gas versions of the car, like the one that we're driving now, get a new 3.5-liter V6, and that makes 301 horsepower. That's a 33 horsepower improvement over last year's model. There's also a new 8-speed automatic transmission on gas models, and together, this powertrain combination is a strength in the Avalon. It has what I would call easy power, both from a stop and while passing. The transmission steps down easily when you want it to, and it's very fluid, and that actually helps with the overall luxurious feel of the car. It works well together with the interior and the ride to make things comfortable if you're not really straining to get the car up to speed. Now, for those who are interested in hybrid versions of the 2019 Avalon, we have good news. There's only a $1,000 price difference between gas and hybrid versions of the car, and when you factor in the difference in fuel economy between the two, you're looking at a very good value for the hybrid, because they get about 44 combined MPG versus only 25 combined MPG in the gas versions. 2019 also brings chassis updates to the Avalon, and that means a new platform. So that now rides on Toyota's global architecture, which is the same thing that you'd find under the 2018 Camry. And in that car, the change to this architecture really changed the Camry from something that was kind of sloppy and boring to drive into a car that actually has pretty crisp handling and a good ride. Now, the changes in the Avalon aren't as dramatic. The 2018 Avalon had a very comfortable, pliant ride, and the same thing is definitely true of the 2019. If there's a change, it's that it's a bit more stable at speed, and you have a bit more confidence while cornering, but not a whole lot. It still has a definite focus on comfort, and the suspension is pliant, and it's actually one of the cars that if I had to drive or be driven in for a long period of time, this might be the choice, because it does a very good job of staying smooth in most conditions. Now, we're in a touring model, which also sees one more big suspension update. This will be actually the first Toyota car to offer an adaptive variable suspension. And it's kind of a strange choice. That's something usually you'd find on more performance-oriented cars, but Toyota says that the Avalon is going for now sporty as well as comfortable. Does it work? Not really. The Touring is a bit firmer than the other trim levels that I tested today, so I also drove a limited model. This is definitely a bit tighter, but it still trends towards comfort, and I think that that's a good thing. That fits this car better. Even when you dial the Touring all the way up to Sport S Plus mode, which is unique to this trim, you're still going to get a decent amount of body roll. It's still going to focus on comfort, and that is, I think, a better way to go in a sedan like this. Now, those who are interested in the 2019 Avalon won't have to wait long. It will start at $36,395 and hit dealerships in May.